The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone. Who doesn't want to make self-growth normal? Then make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And also with ranking and SEO and all this other stuff. And I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. The author says that charismatic people impact the world, whether they're starting new companies or running empires. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be as magnetic as Bill Clinton or captivating as Steve Jobs? The moment you enter a room, people will be magnetically attracted to you and interested in you. If you're applying for a job or advancing in a job, charisma matters. It attracts and retains the best talent. Charisma is what allows one salesman to make 5 times more than the next. It's the difference between a founder who has to knock on investors' doors and a founder who has investors knocking on their doors. By the way, it takes charismatic people years, usually, to become that way. Especially like the most famous ones that we know. So let's talk about each little chapter in this book review, and I'm gonna sprinkle my opinions across it wherever I can. Chapter 1 of 13 is Charisma Demystified. People have objections to, learning how to be more charismatic. I don't know what they are because we've vaguely established, at least, it's not a natural thing, but it seems to feel, at least, more natural the better you get at it. And also, being attractive, by the way, is not necessary. In fact, charisma will make you more attractive to others. If you're ugly, believe me, no one will care, okay? Chapter 2 is the charismatic behaviors, where the author breaks down the 3 things all charismatic people are, or emulate, or exude? It's one of those word moments where I don't know what word to use. But it's things they're just amazing at. Presence, power, and warmth. Chapter 3 is the obstacles to the 3 of these things. Many of these involve negative thinking. And of course, all of the triggers that bring it about, like environment, how comfortable you are in the clothes you're wearing, what happened that day, what happened before, basically everything. That may or may not affect negative emotions or associations with what's in front of you. Chapter 4 is overcoming the obstacles. When working on expanding your comfort zone, she says, to remind yourself that you are not doing anything illegal and that the only thing really holding you back is social customs, if anything, and the fears that you associate with them. Chapter 5 is creating charismatic mental states. This is probably my favorite one. I found it just as fascinating, if not more, than I was expecting to. It's where you basically create your own reality, overriding your instincts to what you see is as dangerous. And this is my favorite because it involves all the different possibilities. When you see them right in front of you, and you actually understand that you can create the reality using them, it's very empowering. Like, for example, imagining, and a lot of this stuff is really unique, imagining people around you with angel wings to better see them as genuinely good human beings. Or visualizing your funeral. What do the flowers smell like? What color are they? What are you wearing? Who's there? The author talks about willpower reserves and how willpower is limited if you can't use it strategically. Ben Hardy wrote a great book on this whole subject, and I feel like a couple other subjects. Cabane says she personally has playlists of songs, keeping tempo and mood, and I think she said genre in mind as well, that she listens to generate more of a mood or something like self-confidence in herself when she listens to them. And warmth and presence and patience. It's better to have to highly cultivate an ability to sort of control your mental state in more of one of those directions when you're going into a stressful, what would be otherwise a stressful meeting or a presentation, or you're talking to a prospect or something like that who's super important to your company. And all these affect your level of charisma on any day. I mean, I know at least that they affect mine. I can genuinely feel a dip when things go wrong throughout my day. Chapter 6 is different charisma styles. There are a bunch of them, but I love visionary charisma. It's probably my favorite because that's the one that causes the most impact. Chapter 7 is charismatic first impressions, where the author plunges into crazy, really unique, again, networking tips. Handshakes, but obviously on typical networking things like handshakes, how to wear, what to wear. What am I on? I didn't take my Adderall. What am I not on? Anyway, handshakes, what to wear, how to do small talk, and it slides into chapter 8, speaking charismatically. And listening charismatically, and how to speak, what to say, what to focus on when listening. A lot of the things that you can't do if you have the right information on what to do in this chapter seem to involve the like 3 pillars, if you want to call them, pillars of charisma: power, presence, and warmth. This one part really stood out on how to take a compliment. Say what you want about Bill Clinton, but in terms of charisma, there's a lot that many of us could learn from him. He paused and looked thoughtful for a second, as if the idea had never occurred to him. Then he appeared to let it sink in as if it were the kindest thing anyone had ever said to him. His shoulders dropped, he kept this big aw shucks smile, and then he responded as though he were a star-struck Cub Scout and I were the president. Chapter 9 is charismatic body language. From this chapter, I learned that an intense gaze into someone's eyes releases this one chemical that people associate with the phenomenal feeling of love at first sight that we hear about in movies. I'm sure this is something you would have to use in, you know, the right context. It's probably better with business people than like straight up like consumers. I feel like it might freak them out. I remember hearing in a Tim Cook interview when he met Steve Jobs, he's like,
there was a sparkle in his eye that I had never seen in a CEO before.
But chapter 10 is difficult situations. For example, when someone is pissing you off, and this worked really well for me like 3 or 4 times in a row today. Imagine them 2 hours ago hearing that both of their parents just died in a car accident. There are a lot of other ones, and they do kind of remind me of chapter 5, where you use visualization to again create charismatic mental states. Chapter 11 is presenting with charisma. This book just has so many unique tips. There are plenty of that I've heard before. There are a couple of my favorite books of all time. If you're in self-help, probably yours too. Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those 2 at least the author mentions specific examples of. But there are so many unique ones. Like, give this book a chance. Let it sink in. Go through the whole thing and you will see like how to use language that's sensory rich and not having any formal Q&As at the end of your presentations. At the beginning of the presentation, be like, there will not be any formal Q&As at the end of this presentation. Just ask questions during the presentation. 1, it'll save time, and 2, it'll increase involvement. Also, like what colors to wear and why. I try to wear a color shirt in these videos that correlates with the title and the subject, and more importantly than anything else, visually speaking, the cover of whichever book I review. Chapter 12 is charisma in a crisis. I don't know. I think with the variety of useful tips and ideas and concepts presented in this book, it's pretty evident, I think, that the author has probably spent years and years relentlessly studying the most charismatic people of at least the last century. Charisma 13. Charity 13. Chapter 13 is the charismatic life. I also found it interesting that so many of these tips revolve around how we make others feel. Like, charisma is just very value focused, what we bring to the table for others, but it's important to remember we are able to do this in real time presence and demonstrating a larger, more noble motive or intention, power, empowering yourself and others, and being a source of positive energy that kind of influences and distorts situations for the better good. Warmth, which makes people comfortable where they normally wouldn't be otherwise. AKA if you never improved your charisma. I also really like how at the end she went into the dangers of charisma. Never take people deeper than they're willing to go. It's your job to not give into the high, to not reveal more than they're ready for. Sometimes without realizing it, as people feel so safe and strong, they'll venture too close to their own demons, ones they're not ready to face. This challenge is one of the few downsides that can accompany kindness, warmth, and focused charisma. If you want to know more about those other downsides, because the downsides are very interesting, and also how to handle them, that's in the book. I don't want to give too much of this stuff away. Quotes. Imagine your breath is someone you're trying to give your full attention to. Whatever's in our head will show up in our body language. To know others is knowledge. To know oneself is wisdom. People associate you with the way you make them feel. Whenever people are asked to expend any of their scarce resources, you can bet they are, at least subconsciously, weighing out a return on their investment. Logic makes people think. Emotion makes them act. Which would you rather have? If you speak to their logical minds, you're missing half the playing field. Getting angry is like drinking a small glass of slow-acting poison. Perfection is not where there is no more to add. It is where there is no more to subtract. Direction 1. The author says, whether you have a bit of charisma that you'd like to take to the next level, I don't know how much I have, but I will always want to take mine to the next level. I don't know about you. Or you've been wishing for that magic but don't think you're the charismatic type, this book is for you. Anything about improving charisma, this is the book I would recommend. Like the book. Direction 2. If you like this book, I can't really think of anything other than, I mentioned How to Win Friends and Influence People, but Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards, that's probably one of my favorite networking books of all time because it also has so many unique tips that are not like these unique tips. But they do apply to networking, and they do apply to charisma. The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews, that and all the other books that I mentioned in this video as well. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere and I will see you then.